We have to talk about something that the internet imploded on last week.
Woo, did they?
Simply because it touches both of our professional careers, which is digital media, the midterms, and money. So last week on Las Culturistas, there was some discourse around the two candidates in Texas, where your money should be spent, who is a better candidate, etc. This then led to the internet imploding about people having an opinion on a very, very in the zeitgeist Senate campaign. You are very vocal about how your money should be spent and where your money should be spent as it relates to national politics, state politics, where you have the largest impact. Thoughts?
Yes, I will first qualify my own expertise and say there are many people who are better forecasters, pollsters, data experts, who know Texas better, of course. Lots of other things that I do not claim to be a foremost expert on. Mm-hmm. How dollars turn into political wins and losses, I absolutely claim authority on. There are very, very few institutions or entities in the ecosystem that put more money into answering that question than Oath. Mm-hmm. We have an entire team of people who spend more than full time working on that. And so I feel extremely well positioned to talk about what your dollars can and cannot do. I came out very early in this internet meltdown to say the real answer is that if you are upset about what's happening with ICE, with the economy, with reproductive rights, with any number of issues that Trump is working to undermine, the answer is you should not give to either of them.
Right.
That your dollars are actually not going to decide the outcome of that race.
Yeah.
And I talked about the reasons why on Instagram. They're actually both pretty well funded. The race is less than 2 months away. Mm-hmm. The amount of earned media that they're earning and the size of both of their current donor bases tells us that they'll not be hurting for cash at all. It's not going to come down to a battle of money.
Yeah.
And so your dollars actually should just not go into those races, even if you are very interested in the outcome of who wins that primary.
Right.
Separate question is, who should win the primary to give Democrats the best chance of winning the general? Mm-hmm. And that there's, I think, room for a lot more opinion about, because it fundamentally is a question that has no definitive answer.
We don't know yet. We don't know yet. We don't know what turnout is going to look like. We don't know how campaigns can change. We don't know what Oppo looks like. There's so many things that we don't yet know.
And the nature of politics is that we never will, right?
Right.
One of the sides is going to lose the primary. And then when most likely either of them loses the general, the other side will say, see?
Right.
You were wrong. I was right.
Right.
But we'll never know
what
the other situation would have been had we elected the other or nominated the other person.
Yeah.
What I can say from the data is that JASMINE CROCKETT is a known figure in Texas. People know who that is when you ask them, and they have opinions about her. She's extremely popular with Democrats. Her approvals across all polls are underwater with independents and underwater with Republicans. That can change, right? But that's just universally true when you look at all independent polls. James Tallarico is a virtual unknown. Half of Texas voters do not know who that is.
Yeah.
And so when you look at his favorability ratings, they're based on a smaller number of people.
Right.
Because half cannot answer whether they like him or not. What the people who do know who that is, he is less popular among Democrats overall and more popular or slightly above water with independents and still underwater with Republicans.
Here's my take. I encourage productive internet discourse, keyword being productive, and I am not yet convinced both sides of the Democratic primary will advocate and support whoever wins the primary. I want to see that. There is so much infighting between the supporters of each candidate to the point of it not being productive, and it's taking up space, it's taking up airtime, it's taking up organizing time. And I just want to make sure that anyone who supports JASMINE CROCKETT will support James Tallarico if he wins the primary and vice versa.
I agree. In my opinion, the only way Texas is even the Senate race, particular, the only way that the Senate race in Texas is really worth talking about after the primary is if Ken Paxton is the Republican nominee. The Republicans currently have a 3-way primary going on, tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars being spent there to try and get the incumbent through. Ken Paxton would be the most damaged goods we've seen Republicans nominate since Mastriano in Pennsylvania, who got walloped in 2022.
Yeah.
And that makes it interesting. But in that situation, it really will matter how the Democrat is running their campaign. I think that either of them can put themselves potentially in a position to do that. What I will say is JASMINE CROCKETT has made statements in the past that she does not need to win Trump voters, or that she's not interested in winning Trump voters. And in Texas specifically, you have to.
Yeah.
Like when you just look at the sheer number of people who vote in Texas, there aren't enough Democrats to turn out. You have to win independents largely, and some Republicans. And so that's where I'm not saying it's impossible for Crockett to do it, but I think that showing an openness to trying to do that is important. And that is why I think some people in Camp Tallarico are saying it will be easier to do if fewer people have a strong opinion right now of the candidate, that the candidate will be able to define themselves, ideally, in a frame that would appeal to those two audiences that you have to win some of.
Yeah.
Currently, 1 in 5 Republicans has a positive view of Tallarico,
which is extremely
really high for like a Democrat running for Senate.
Yeah, if you are an independent or a Republican voter in Texas, you don't want to, and you're unhappy with the MAGA movement and with Donald Trump and Texas politics, you don't want to hear from a potential Democratic candidate that candidate is not concerned with your vote.
I will say, I know that a lot of people might disagree with that take. I do not vote in Texas, and I want people to focus on other things. Even if your goal is to shift the Democratic Party in a more populist direction or a more progressive direction, there are other races going on right now where your time and money will actually do that more effectively than in the Texas race, which is so deeply in the spotlight already that it's much harder to have marginal impact there. And so to recap, spend your money somewhere else. Go focus on other primaries if you want to focus on primaries at all. If you insist on having hot takes about this, just root it in the data. Like for me, I think that it's important for people to be operating within the bounds of reality and being straight with what the Democratic Party needs to do in order to come back from the most horrific administration that we've ever seen in our country's history.
Yeah. And to add to that, the data and the coalition building.
Absolutely.
We are a team.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we all want the same thing.